Hi, today I'm going to do chapter 12 of Virginia Gouffrey's memoirs. So up until now, I did the first chapter, two chapters in the first video and the third and fourth chapter in the second video. And that covered the time with Ron Eppinger, who was, this was where she was really viciously held captive and raped, as they're saying. Um, and so usually, because with Jeffrey Epstein, she's not describing any of those types of encounters. Um, she's not exactly enjoying, at least in her descriptions here. It's like, well, if it was so degrading, it was so degrading. Why did you stay? Why didn't you get out of it? And of course, the lifestyle, this luxury lifestyle of doing nothing but hanging out, going shopping, hanging out at the by the pool, going to parties. Um, and this is the problem. This is, since the 1980s, lifestyle of the rich and famous. And they've promoted, everybody wants to be rich and famous. Everybody wants to realize their dreams. Nobody wants to just be a normal person. Um, and all of these people are just normal people, and then they're like, you have to feed their egos to make them think that they're important. Um, it's all very self-destructive. So, the as I say, she was groomed to this life when she was a child, sexually molested from 9 to 11 years old. Then she became a runaway. Um, she went through CPS, runaway. She lived with her aunt in Colorado for a while. And then her memoirs start when she's 14 and she gets picked up on the street by Ron Eppinger, who takes her back to his apartment. It's in Miami at first, and he has these other girls, and they're all from, I think most of them are Asian, but they're all foreign. They come in under the pretext of being models. And the whole thing of like, oh, somebody said, oh, they have private jets so these girls can come in. I was like, excuse me, you know how many people come in? They don't need a visa. They just come in as tourists and you stay. I mean, sometimes people don't think when they give their opinions. So, it's not so difficult to go to another country and just stay. Uh, and she was with, as I say, with Ron Eppinger, and they're with these girls. And these girls were like, we're cool, we're hanging out, we get to go shopping, and we got to sleep with these guys, party with them on the boats and the yachts, at nighttime, and then sleep with them. And Virginia, she was glad because she felt like special, because Ron Eppinger kept him for himself because she was young and he liked, having her young, but he really mistreated her and was violent with her. And I mean, never with Jeffrey. They got into some S&M for a little while with one girl. But she was like, look, I'm getting tired of this with Jeffrey, and he got rid of the girl. So there's nothing here that's indicating um, that she's being coerced or she's being held against her will. And it's nothing of the violent things. There's no snuff films, there's no sacrifices, there's nothing that you hear like with the Sasha Riley case, and other testimonies. I mean, I came across the testimony decades ago. They've been out there. Um, there's the testimony of the woman in Belgium, and I knew about the case in Belgium when we were living there at the beginning of the 90s. That came out. Um, and how even girls were held like behind the walls and they were screaming. The police came in, they were screaming and stuff, and the police, well, we couldn't find anything, we left. And people were saying, lodging complaints for many years. So this has been going on for a very long time, horrific stuff. But the sugar baby, the lifestyle of the rich and famous, um, Mayflower Madam, Studio 54, I mean, Plato's Retreat was before that. So, you know, the focus of the Me Tooers and all of the press on sugar babies and how this is exploitation of women. This has been going on. The feminist movement was supposed to get rid of this. They've just made it worse. So anyway, we'll go on now to chapter 12. You can look at the other. I'm trying to put now, you already have a little recap. Oh, it's really nice. AI is sometimes good. With the Zoom, it'll give me a little chapter recap, and that's in there. You can see what it's about, but then also in the titles. So I'm going through that. Okay, chapter 12. When we got back to Jeffrey's mansion in Palm Beach, he wanted to thank me for showing his friend, the prince, such a good time. Rewarding my diligence with an extra sum of money and luring me deeper into his goal of keeping me at his side as his personal amusement that he could lend out at any time. See, I mean, she's like not happy that he's sharing her with others. And I mean, rightfully so, but uh, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, he is paying her. So this is precisely why men have gone to courtesans and prostitutes throughout history, because you don't have, it's not like your wife or your girlfriend, and you have to put something into the effort. Here's the money, and you're on your way. So, and I mean, Jeffrey, they definitely have a relationship more than just a prostitute who comes over and services him whenever he needs it. Um, so as I say, it is, this I guess is this is what the sugar baby business is about. Um, Regarding my diligence with an extra sum of money and luring me deeper into his goal of keeping me at his side as his personal amusement that he could lend out any time, further providing his capability of using the vulnerable impressions of a young girl to influence and intimidate his fellow peers of like minds. I mean, that somebody put that sentence into her head. See, what's happening is within the human trafficking industry, you have, people who are, some of them are psychologists, some of them are just, people who get involved in good meaning people who work with victims who have been, either taken themselves out of the human trafficking or like, Sasha Riley, I don't know how he came out of it. But there are, organizations like with Ron Eppinger, the FBI, they broke in and liberated these girls. Well, if things are going well, there are services that will work with these girls and help them get out of that life. And it's a double-edged sword because within, again, the psychology and the psychiatric industries, professions, if you will, there's good and there's bad. This is why it's so important to have people with morals, a society where people have morals and are going to use these things. Um, you know, Hypnotism. I did it once, and it was to lose weight. I saw it advertised, and I was like, this is very interesting. So I went, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to lose a few pounds and stuff, at least 10. So anyway, he did it, and it was relaxing, and he gave me a tape. This is back in the 80s. He gave me a tape, but it was not, I was like, I mean, I never lost any kind of consciousness, if you will. I mean, I was in total control of the situation at all times. I was just very, very, very relaxed. I mean, maybe, of course, it also was one session, whatever. It was just, okay, you're gonna, when you have a craving, you're not going to, or when you get nervous or, think about going to munching something, you won't do that, whatever. Um, but I found it the tape he gave me, I found it a very relaxing uh, thing. And I've never done any meditation or anything like that. I'm a kind of I relax by doing things. Sitting around doing nothing is very stressful for me. So obviously meditation is not my thing. Um, and if somebody wants to have a discussion, well, whatever. But yeah, I prefer athletics or just walking. And, you know, but if I'm going to meditate, at least I'm going to walk. If I'm going to think about things. That's one of the reasons why I walk everywhere. But anyway, so this whole, as I say, it's a double-edged sword. These people do need some assistance when they come out of these situations, but at the same time, what they're offering, I mean, the domestic violence people, do not get me started on that industry. I mean, I'm like, take your frickin' shoulder to cry on and stick it where the sun don't shine. I need a lawyer who knows what the fuck they're doing. So that because there's a conflict of interest, keep these people oppressed and on drugs, and it gives us lots of business. But Virginia definitely coached from the beginning. I mean, I looked into the psychologist at, when I first came across this years ago. I looked into the psychologist who had helped her, if you will, in Florida. And yeah, that's so anyway, let's go on. Jeffrey didn't want to know the grim details of how it all happened on my intimate night with the prince. He just asked simply if I thought that I did well in keeping his friend happy. Knowing already that the evaluation of my performance I gave was already discussed between them, I just as simply replied back with a nod of approval. Though I did have a laugh with Jeffrey about the prince's weird fixation on my feet, and let's just say that he was quite tickled with Andrew's quirky obsession, having a good old chuckle at my eccentric encounter. Well, that's a sentence filled with adjectives. Okay, I was extremely well played this time, putting my money earned into nothing but popping pills and alcohol by shouting my so-called friends a good time, by showing, I should say, my so-called friends a good time, aiming for the attempt to forget about my experiences abroad, like going to Naomi Campbell's birthday party. I mean, really, this is like these bored housewives who sit there and complain. And I mean, that's what she's aspiring to be. And that's what, she's the courtesan version of it. I partied like that to feel young again, my age, and most of all to self anesthetize my troubles from within. It wasn't like I was waiting for someone to arrive on his white horse and take me away to a magical world. That's exactly what she was looking for. I simply yearned for more out of life than being someone's replaceable amusement. Still a romantic at heart, I would often get lost in my daydreams, imagining a new beginning with a strong man that would show me an enduring love, safety in his arms, and a lifetime friendship. Well, I mean, I guess every young woman, um, that's what she's dreaming of. And but then our Western men are so emasculated that that's why we have so many with sexual deviances. Though, see how it's a very dysfunctional and vicious cycle. Though the suggestion of true love's existence, wait a second, though the suggestion of true love's existence was only a dream for now, something I could only read about in novelistic fairy tales, but the passing thought from time to time was warmly envisioned. With my innermost desires being locked away in a deep crevice of my heart, I knew my romantic notions would be absurd in Geoffrey's eyes. Well, he already told her that. For some unknown reason to me, he couldn't allow himself to give love or receive someone's heart in return. Once he said to me when I asked him if he even thought he would settle down and find Mrs. Right, and he told me he didn't believe that love with one monogamous partner was possible, but he found that love with many was. I mean, this is like the James Bond archetype. He just likes them young. I mean, this whole stuff has been romanticized by Hollywood and mainstream media and polite society for so long that it's the norm. It's not normal, but it's the norm. I thought at the time it had something to do with having so much money and everyone wanting him for that instead of seeing him as a person, and even felt bad for him. But now I can understand from his recent lessons unlearned that it was a simple equation of his twisted perversions to become infatuated with the vulnerable youth off the streets. I mean, see, no, as I've said many, many times, Doug Sharp, the son of Dwight Sharp, he's a real estate DC billionaire. He told me, he said, "Oh, you don't know if your friends are your friends because you have a mansion and you give fabulous parties, or they like you." I was like, "Well, the first, we both know that." And he's shown his spots, and so is everybody else. It's like with the Capote Swans, with Anne Woodward. She's the one who took the cyanide. She's the one who killed her husband, who shot her husband. And it was swept under the carpet by the police. It was even her mother-in-law, the mother of the man that she killed, who helped sweep it under the carpet because it would have been like such a scandal um, for the neighborhood. This is like Connecticut, I guess, because it's outside of New York. And in fact, they had been at a party with Wallace Simpson and Edward the Eighth uh, before that. And they come home. She's, he's going to get a divorce. He's had it with her. He's going to get a divorce, so she shoots him. So it's covered up. But then Truman Capote, this is where they had the falling out, the Swans. Truman Capote had the falling out with his Swans. And when he published the Cote Basque, and it exposed that, oopsie, she killed her husband. And, the police didn't go after her, but she was shunned from polite society. And that's why she took the cyanide and killed herself. And her mother-in-law was like, well, she killed my son and Truman Capote killed her. Well, thank God that's over with. Let's get on with the party. This whole thing of, oh, Queen Elizabeth, don't complain, don't explain, like something that everybody like pretentiously quotes Queen Elizabeth, that's something that you, like an example you should follow. No. Like, if shit is hitting the fan, you better deal with it. This is one of the problems of the UK was Queen Elizabeth's reign, and turn a blind eye to everything. And I mean, she castrated her husband just like all of the other. I mean, the feminists have loved her, and the minoritist. I mean, her husband was very upset. Even his children didn't carry his name. I mean, and then of course he's unfaithful to her. So, all of these women complaining and complaining and complaining about how their men are not faithful, some of them should take a look in the mirror and see why. Um, so, and it's not like, the thing is it's not just because she's a vulnerable youth off the street. I mean, these guys, these rich and famous guys, it's all about the conquest. I mean, okay, she, as they say, Jeffrey liked them young. Um, and off the streets, well, nobody's looking. If the parents are paying any attention, he's not going to go there, but because he knows the parents will do something and say something if they care about their kids. Unfortunately, I mean, oh my God, you have made for TV series. Well, now it's cable TV, but anyway, um, or films that are made about how superficial New York high society is, or American high society, or Hollywood high society. I mean, this is the role model that's been promoted for generations and generations. I mean, that's part of my mother's problem, was that she, completely embraced this Victorian era, get her into a debutante party and a wealthy robber baron heir, and you're good to go for life. I mean, just look at Foxcroft and you see a cemetery of that shit. Okay, so I knew I wanted to escape from this bizarre form of first class slavery. First class slavery. I mean, I love it when they do that, because The feminists, they have completely eroded women's rights in the home and the marriage. And basically, women in wives are slaves. They have no rights because where are your rights going to be tested when you need to access, you know, access, I mean, access to your property, either physically or as a financial instrument, access to bank accounts, access to money that is yours, uh, when you're in the when you get in, if you get into the courts. This was one of the things that I was like, wait a second, I want to see the financials. I want to see the financials. They said, no, you can't get it unless you go through a divorce. I was like, that's ridiculous. Um, so that was one of the issues. But then when we get into the divorce, and then they block all my, you know, they try and cover up all sorts of issues. He's going crazy. He's violent. And this is because he lost his job and da da da. So it's just paper pushers, and this is why so many children are being victimized, because lawyers don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Um, and rights are being completely violated. So this is slavery, because maybe on paper, I mean, oh Lord, you go all over the place, and then you go to these organizations, these nonprofits that'll help you. They have pamphlets. They will sit there and give you speeches on this right and that right. And you'll just like go, and where am I supposed to have these rights? I mean, is this some imaginary thing that you see floating around? Like, what the frick are you people talking about? So when I hear, the either the African Americans who want reparations for past slavery, the slavery of their ancestors, I'm like, everybody on earth has had some ancestors who were enslaved in one way or another. So we can all start throwing money at each other. But then, something like this, it's just, and this is also first class slavery. I mean, these are ideas that have been put into her head by the lawyers and the psychologists. Because this girl wouldn't have ever thought of anything about the concept of rights, of slavery, of citizenship, any of that stuff. As I say, this was put in her head. Um, but I still didn't have the tools necessary to help me get out. I didn't have the tools necessary. That's another key thing, tools. Um, Excuse me, she gave $2,000 to some kids in Marrakesh. I mean, her rationalizations don't make sense, but this is always the case with these sugar babies, the prostitutes, drug addicts, all of it. I don't have the tools necessary. And this where it buys into the whole charity bullshit, and the it's a Ponzi scheme, con job of nonprofits. You just need the tools. We're going to give you tools. So we're going to sit here and you're going to do a course. You're going to sit there and listen to us for an hour. We're going to give you a piece of paper, and now you have the tools to go and address the issue. I mean, this is the psychobabble they got. So how could I have? Everyone that knew me believed I was living this enchanting life, a rags to riches success story that most people dream of. Only I knew the price to be paid for all of this, and I was the only one who could pay for it. I mean, again, this is like no different than these women who marry meal ticket husbands so that they can sit around doing nothing. My younger sister always accuses me of that. I'm like, no, actually, that's what I'm fighting. That's our older sister, and that's the Federation of American Women's Clubs overseas, IMF Family Association, World Bank Family Network. All of these people, I mean, the literature even says in these expat community, this is the corporate and diplomatic corps. They move abroad for the money. And I mean, you know, I worked with the wives and the secretaries of the IMF and the World Bank, and I can assure you, um, you know, they're all social climbers who have come to realize their dreams, and everybody knows. I mean, even after they ousted me, I'm working in restaurants right near there, and that's the clientele, and I get my little elevator speeches. Oh, believe me, ground zero here in Washington. Maybe nobody on the internet knows me. I'm not liked. I don't have a lot of subscribers or anything like that. And I don't have a six-figure salary. I've always been kind of, how shall I say it, like a spy, kind of in the background. My grandfather was a spy. He was the first white man to successfully defend a black man in the Deep South, 1910, and the Congressman Taylor of the time, he was so impressed with the defense he gave that he brought him up to DC and he became a spy. And, you know, really part of being, so yeah, I guess I just, nobody's bankrolling me like Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, they're all trying to like get me living in a tent on the streets, um, in order to shut me up. So I find jobs that I can. Right now, I've been I'm stuck in the kitchen. Not technically in the kitchen. I'm a cashier. It's a grill, a hot grill. They stuck me back there when the manager, the general manager, he's a concierge as well. He's Spanish. He's from the northern suburbs of Madrid. So very much. When he told me what neighborhood he was from, and I told him where my house is in Madrid, I think he was like, competition here, big time. And then when in a conversation, he's talking with all the waiters about le galette de roi and the king cake, and he finds out, oh shit, she knows about cuisine, she knows about service, she knows about everything. So what does he do? He takes me off the hostess stand and sticks me at the cashier and the near the hot grill, as one of the guys who said, I don't know if he's working there anymore. I haven't seen him for a while, but he was the token black guy in there. Everybody else is Latino as well. Um, oh, believe me, the restaurant business with discrimination, we're gonna have a good time. But as he said, he's like, what did he say? They're gonna get rid of you by heat in the kitchen or something like that. Like that I would quit. After I said, yeah, I can't afford to quit. I'll just stick it out next to the heat. So anyway, uh, not everybody is horrible to me there, but most of them. And I'm just like, with all the Latinos in the kitchen, I'm like, you guys, come on. See, the thing is I'm fluent in Spanish, and I lived in Colombia, and I lived in Spain. So if anybody knows anything about the Latino dynamics, they're gonna and oh, and this is even in my divorce in the papers, in the court case of a letter from a friend of mine. They called me a vieja baraca, like an old battle axe. Oh, but you're an old battle axe. So yeah, we've got and that's some people in Colombia. Yeah. So anyway, the Latinos, they want to pick a fight with me. I am not the stupid, like dumb blonde in Northwest DC who doesn't understand a word of what you're saying or anything about your culture. I gotcha. I gotcha. I got your number every which way. Um, so anyway, how could I have? Everyone that knew me believed I was living this enchanted, oh, and okay. Underestimating my true self, I was settled by Jeffrey's side for now, considering him to be someone to look up to, my mentor. Such a complicated battle within myself. It is one I still ache to fully comprehend today. Sunny spring days melted away the ice off the frozen streets of New York, and the harsh winter winds begun to gently blow away the dead leaves, making the caged trees appear to have some form of life again. I hated the cold winters there. It would only add to my depression being locked indoors. Locked indoors? She's got an apartment. He's set her up in an apartment. She can go out, go shopping. Okay, maybe she's lonely, but she's got, I mean, there are other sugar babies. They could set up the expat wives club, have coffee mornings with the kids. They could set up a sugar baby, do lunch, just like all of the bored housewives. The courtesans used to do that. I mean, give me hot Florida days, blistering in the sun, where I can swelter by a cool pool and sip cocktails with pieces of fruit and little oriental umbrellas floating around. Yeah, if she had to work out in the fields or work out, in the heat of Florida, manual labor, I don't think she would be like, give me Florida days blistering in the sun quite so much. What a vision of solace. Looking around my extravagantly decorated medieval room, I was reminded of the desolation that I was more than accustomed to, knowing it wouldn't be long before I was summoned again for another ritualistic occurrence in fornicating with my master. I hardly bothered to leave my assigned chambers, scarcely being sent home for a moment's break. I just accepted my fate. I mean, really, if you don't like it, get out. I'm thinking, like, wait a second. First I come to DC. I want to get in, serve in politics, work for the senator. I have illusions about, our political system and our democracy and believing all of the propaganda I've been fed all of my life. Well, not all of it, because I mean, I knew my mom was a hypocrite. So I knew there were a lot of hypocrites, but I thought that was with the Republicans. I thought the Democrats, no, they're for the working people, they're for, you know, liberal values. They don't want to like dictate and be a fascist dictator of everything you say and do. Um, Little did I know. So anyway, I get disillusioned that, then I get into the financial markets. I mean, let's see, I started within 2 years, I go from making, let's see, my first, it was $11,500 a year, my salary. Now I did get a little bit more each at the end of the month, like $100, $200 from the stock brokers that I worked for. Um, but within, let's see, it was about 7 or 8 months of that, maybe 9 months of that. I had two promotions, and somebody said, "Oh my God, I've never seen anybody work so hard." I worked for a guy who was never in the office, so I was constant. I had to find out what all of the different financial products were. So I was always, studying, like, what is this? What is that on the phone? So anyway, it was a good opportunity to learn. That's what I tell people. Whatever situation you're in, just try and learn. So then I went to work for this guy, George Schwelling. He had a trading program. That was very interesting. I was there for about a bit over a year, but I get it. I get how she was. This is an empty, superficial lifestyle. This is, this doesn't, and I'm not, I mean, I'm making my own way. Um, and by that time, I had pretty much written off men. I'm just starting in the marriage market, and I'm like, God, Washington, like, I'm just disillusioned. I mean, at this point, I'm even like, well, I guess, one of my gay friends, if any of them were, how shall I say, perspective, somebody who I would think would be a good father, I'd almost be like, well, you know what, let's just do it for show. Whatever. I mean, that I don't think is a viable solution. And I left. But my point being, I get how upset she was, but I hear I was making good money and I wasn't sleeping with anybody. Okay, I was working in the stock market. So, the financial markets. So we can talk about the morals there, the immorality of what I was involved in. But I did learn and I got out and I am, trying to fix the system with the knowledge that I accumulated um, instead of just go out and make money from it. So as I say, I get how she's, like not happy with her life. And this is a very superficial life, and all of these people are very superficial and just, as I say, all they care about is partying and being pretentious. And since they know they are not as smart and as great as everybody around them are like telling them, because they have lots of money, they need more and more money to have more and more people to tell them how wonderful they are. So, it just is it's a vicious cycle and it's a self-destructive system. But get out, get out. Uh, and that's what she supposedly did later on when she, marries her husband. She goes to Thailand and meets this guy, and then they get married. This Australian guy. I'm sorry. As I predicted, the intercom buzzed momentarily, and I heard Ghislaine's voice come over and request to meet them in Jeffrey's study. Not an odd call. I would often meet him there, first so he could tie up some unfinished business before heading to the dungeon, or what was thought to be a massage room. Making my way down the hall, I had an eerie feeling wash over me, as if several pairs of eyes on me watching my every move. A cold chill moved up my spine, and I had to move my thoughts elsewhere. Too easy behind these walls to succumb to my fearsome anxieties. I punched in number 1 once inside the elevator, and it took me down to the floor where Jeffrey and his surprised guest were waiting with anticipation behind closed doors. I cracked open the heavy wooden doors, and a familiar face revealed itself. Definitely not expected or pre-warned on my part, but I already knew what he was here for, or at least why I was called down to the study. Prince Andrew had that notorious cheesy grin slapped over his face as he looked me up and down like a shiny new car on display, and he was about to take it for a test drive. Ghislaine led me to the decadent sofa he was lounging on and twirled me around to give him a good look over before sitting down on his lap. Like a show pony, I knew exactly how they wanted me to be paraded around. With the last of my dignity long lost, I had nothing more to lose. It was easy to give them the reaction they desired. All I had to do was to pretend to be entertained by their lewd gestures. And when Andrew cupped my breast with a doll made in his image, I only giggled away. Ghislaine wanted to take a picture of the bizarre scene and even got Johanna, another one of Jeffrey's so-called personal assistants, to come sit on his other knee for the snapshot. giving the impression girls couldn't stay away from Randy Andy. Okay, the Randy Andy, that I remember he had the name when I was 14 in boarding school in England. And he's few years older than I am. So I was a teenager. It rhymes. It's like in grade school. Nah, 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 nah. I'm really, this was the whole thing. It was like a grade school, Randy Andy, Randy Andy. You know, it rhymed. And of course, they made a joke out of it. Young girls. So everybody pulls that out on them. And I'm just like, God, you people get over yourselves. Now, here, she's going into some real detail that also questions the validity of what she's saying. And she does make it, they're making some mistakes here because she's been coached on this one. If there were so many pictures taken, and she's also saying like that the this is the only time that she's talked about it, is that when she's at Jeffrey's mansion, how she has this feeling of being watched. Now that's to corroborate that they had cameras and he was being watched and stuff. I mean, I believe it would probably be true. I mean, if I were put myself in Jeffrey Epstein's shoes and I'm trying to run a spy ring, get dirt on anybody so I can control people around me. Um, Logically, what am I going to do? I'm going to have cameras and be filming people and have lots of photos and lots of videos so I can say, see, I gotcha. See, I gotcha. So you're going to do what I want. I mean, this is spy 101 type of duh. Okay, so it's not a leap to think that he had cameras all over the place. So that's not a leap. But see here, they're saying he took all of these pictures. Where are these pictures? You see what I'm saying? He's sitting, here he is Andrew. They're making sure that they're getting lots of pictures of this whole stuff. Where are the pictures? The only thing they came up with is one that Lady Harvey has gone through detail by detail and shown, and nobody has been able to produce an original of that. It hasn't been, it's not admissible evidence because even I could Photoshop something like that. And I don't have any special, stuff. You just put, I mean, some of my Photoshop is pretty bad, but some of it, as I'm saying, that's easily done. So many crude jokes later, and I was asked to show Andrew to the upstairs massage room. I'm sure he already knew where it was from previous encounters with Jeffrey's staff, but I led the way anyways, as if he was now my guest of honor. Entering, and I just want to say, because everybody, she just, because I know the dialogue, believe me, she just wants to get in good graces with the prince and get in the limelight. I mean, come on, you guys, look at everything that I've done for the past 20 years. If that was really my agenda, like really, well, then I'm really doing a bad, 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 bad job. And I'm not a stupid idiot. So like, no, if I was, a opportunist, like so many I know, then I wouldn't be sitting here in this in this shithole in Washington with a minimum wage job. I mean, I had this is all, the whole thing. You've got to make the right contacts. You got to make the right contacts in life. I'm like, I had the right contacts. That's why I came up with the idea for global expats. And it was a good idea. And that's why my husband wanted to kill me. And that's why my family got jealous and wanted me to disappear. So it's like all of you people, you want the right context, networking, 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 networking. Well, what's your objective? To have a job with lots of money? We see with Virginia Gouffrey, she was very miserable like that. Okay. Entering into the dim room, it took a few minutes for my eyes to adjust to the darkness, but knowing my way around the room was enough to find the shower. I turned on the steam room and began to undress myself. Andrew followed my lead and disrobed, throwing his attire to the floor. I wanted to run and hide, feeling his hands touch me again, but my servitude for Jeffrey kept me there. I mean, take a look at here. I mean, if you remember, one time she's in Los Angeles and she goes out shopping for the day and she meets this young woman. And they're smoking a joint and she's like, hey, you want to come and I'll have a surprise for Jeffrey Epstein and you want to come and uh, service him and stuff. She's like, oh, is he like fat and ugly and stuff? She's like, no, he's a Richard Gere look. And she's like, oh, okay. She had no problem with it. So let's see. In 1991, let's see. Where is he here? See, he was, I mean, see, this is a good looking guy. Make sure I'm sharing this. I mean, this is what he would look like back then. Let's see, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, she calls Jeffrey Epstein a Richard Gere type guy. Okay, in 1991. I'm going to do this. See, here again, he is. I mean, there he looks good. I mean, he reminds me, how shall I say it? See there? Not a bad looking guy. So, I mean, these are not, I mean, like, here, let's look at Alan Dershowitz. Or Roger Ailes. Because Megyn Kelly claims that anybody would give their boss a blowjob because they wanted to be on TV. She said that in the interview after the movie came out. It's on tape. You know, so this whole stuff, I mean, these are sugar babies. These are prostitutes. This is what they do for a living. And she's, this is why it also is just so adds to the unbelievability of her story. I mean, I'm as I keep on saying, if somebody brings to me concrete evidence on anybody, okay, fine, that evidence we got to look into. But there's so much fabricated, false evidence. It's not even funny. When I was going through my divorce, this is like the second or third. This is a bitch lawyer. Oh, I can't wait to see her in court. She said to me, I mean, she's like treating me like I'm some naive, stupid oh, you're just a bimbo housewife who doesn't understand anything about anything. And she actually said to me that I was naive because I said, wait a second, this is all perjury. All of this stuff that's been introduced in the divorce, these things that people have signed, my neighbors, and then the maid, the young Brazilian girl who's living with us, this is all perjury. And she's like treating me like I'm stupid. She said everybody commits perjury. It's expected. I mean, I was flabbergasted. I'd never been in a courtroom before in my life or in a lawsuit. And I was like, you people are crazy. I was like, that's going to be your defense when I get you all into court and into investigation of what's going on in here. I was horrified. See, the lawyers even think it's normal. I have I have a letter, I have an email. This was the first lawyer of my landlord, Beth Shiva Philpott, who she thought that she was going to walk away from that. She's in for a surprise. So about her lawyers are as well, but both she had two, and I sent them emails, very detailed emails, explaining to them that if you enable somebody in extortion with malicious litigation and introduce evidence and testimony to be false, you're involved in criminal activity. It's so common and so rampant, nobody even bats an eye. And the bar associations, I mean, those people are so far out to lunch, it's not even funny. They all should be thrown in prison. The only, let's see, there's 3 to 4% of complaints filed with bar associations they actually, do something about. And most people don't even bother because they know it's a joke and they don't waste their time. I mean, I knew that was going to be key, and I made sure with the bar association in Madrid when I was exhausting domestic remedies, I made sure I sent letter back and back and back and forth with these guys, you know, per your previous, communication, and this is all in Spanish abogado bullshit. Per your, I mean, my favorite is, okay, so the Bar Association in my case claims that it's the right of the lawyers to violate the rights of their clients under the principle of judicial independence. This is the official position of the Bar Association of Madrid. Okay? So, like, you see how fucking crazy these people are? Now, I don't swear often, but this is really like, I mean, they all should be locked up. Oh, oh, freaking crazy. Um, so let's see. Where was I? Okay, by the look in his eyes, by the look in his eyes, I knew he could care less about a foot massage. His real desires were being shown by the arousal his body was forming. He indicated where he wanted me to touch him and how. I fulfilled his CD request, but only just. There was no pleasure in this for me. The only thing I derived from this event was to sink further into my slumber of depression. I mean, she's not happy with even Jeffrey. So, I mean, like, why doesn't she leave? I couldn't remember a time when I felt needed for anything other than my body or amusements thereof. After his massage was thoroughly conducted, I couldn't wait to get back to my room for another shower. Sitting on the floor of the shower under the harsh spray of water, I scrubbed my body where he touched me, feeling abhorrent and ashamed at what I had become. I let the water wash away the grime. As the days progressed into nights and the nights followed a trail of destructive months. My outlook on life had diminished into utter sadness. I had lost my spark and my ability to look like I could handle the abusive state of affairs I had drifted into. Sinking deeper in the euphoric state of being on coke and pills, not only was my mentality dwindling away, but also my looks. I sure as hell didn't feel like a 17-year-old anymore, and now I wasn't looking like one. My eyes had dark circles underneath them from not sleeping, and my bones protruded from my skinny waistline and chest. I mean, I don't know why she's so skinny. She just sits around doing nothing. Well, maybe she's doing so much cocaine that, like, no, she's. This made Jeffrey apprehensive in keeping me around as often, and before I had a moment's notice, I was out of money and looking for a job. When I questioned him what was happening, he told me I wasn't the same girl he had first met some time ago now, and looked like I needed a break from working so much. I'll call you next time I'm in town, was the last thing he said to me. So we'll get into chapter 13 when she is going back to an average teenager's life was more of a harder transition than I could have ever thought. So as I say, if she was so unhappy, this is once again time to get out. But as we'll see, it's not quite so easy once you've become this parasite on society. And this is not, as I say, this is the example, this is the role model that all of the young girls in the United States to aspire to. Sit around, marry a meal ticket husband, sit around the country club, the swimming pool, doing cocaine, sipping champagne, going to the hairdresser, going shopping, going to fancy parties with overinflated ego and people who think that they're God's gift to the world, and everybody's throwing money. The hedge fund people, through the hedge fund people, the capital venturists are throwing money around like there's no tomorrow, at all of these serial entrepreneurs who have failure rates of 70 to 90%. And it's all party, 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 hardy. And so many of the goods and services, it's directed towards the 20, 30-year-olds. And party, 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 hardy. This gets into all of my work on economics and my challenging the Mandevillian economics and even the World Bank, the UN, the IMF, all of the international community, that's what they're promoting. And as I keep on explaining to them, your sustainable development goals, those are going to produce the same income inequality, the same socioeconomic problems as Reagan economics trickle down for the same reason. Purse strings of the consumers and suppliers are held in the hands of a bunch of psychopaths who just want to sit around doing nothing. And even with my sister, I saw this, my older sister who lived abroad. All of these women, this was the big thing that I had, particularly in Bogota. Because before, when we were in Brussels, we had, the second house particularly, we had a huge house. It didn't have much furniture in it, which was fine because the kids, this is Brussels, it's not so warm out. And so, they had their tricycles and their, little upala and stuff. It was just this big, huge, huge playground right next to the kitchen. And you had an upstairs, but it was all one level. And so I was like, this is great. I allowed the upala into the house on that floor only. Because, oh, my younger son, he had such a, he would, it was like, I don't know, 80 or 90 square meters or something, that area. And as I say, we had a dining room table, two click clack um, sofas, sofa beds, and the TV. And the rest of it was just open space, and the kids could come over and play. I mean, it was fine because most of our friends, they had young kids as well. Um, but it was still very sparsely decorated, our our abode. But so yeah, I had two babies there, and we were there for 4 years. So all I did really was spend my time with my babies, changing diapers. I mean, I was 24/7. I didn't have any family. Um, like when his mother would come, I'd go to the gym or something. I think I even dropped out of the gym because I couldn't go enough. Um, but I mean, I was so happy. I mean, all I had always wanted. I mean, I loved babies from the time that I was a child, and I was more than happy. I just there's a photo of me, a passport photo, and I'm like, see, look at my hair. It's pulled back. I mean, I'm like, see, yeah, I wasn't going to the hairdresser or anything. Um, then in Paris, we were again, we were there for, so we were there for 2 years. Um, and again, they're starting to go, and this is again, this all of this homeschooling and everything. They had what they call a guarderia, and that was run by the neighborhood, the l'ayuntamiento, or this the arrondissement. Um, and you could go, you signed up, and it was, I mean, they didn't, because you didn't have working moms going there, because you would sign up and you could just have a couple hours a week or something, and they could come, but they would come in the mornings. They would stay maybe an hour or 2 hours, play. It was enough time for me to, go to the gym and then go and pick them up. But they had interaction with other children. And this is extremely important with toddlers. They need to be with other children. No, you don't pull their hair when you have an altercation. This is where the socialization process begins. Now, 100, 200 years ago, in traditional society, you're going to have the extended family. Um, you're going to have cousins running all over the place, kids in the neighborhood. Um, so you would have had that within that, context. But within modern urban societies, it is important for these kids to start interacting with other children. That's why I'm like, oh, I'm a homeschooler. So like I'm progressive, or I'm like, no, and particularly with the trad wives, I'm like, excuse me? No, you get your ass over the PTA. And you say, excuse me, I'm getting involved in the school system. Instead, and I don't know, I'm just going to homeschool. I'm so against homeschooling, it's not even funny. Um, so anyway, no, I went off on that. But yeah, so, after in Brussels and in Paris, I'm, with two little babies and two little toddlers. Of course, I'm not very much involved in the PTA and other things. Then when my kids started school, this is even, I mean, this is, because when did they start going? I'm trying to think. Because they did start going all day. I mean, it would end early still. But so anyway, in Bogota, they're in school. So I become involved. I'm on the board of the American Expat Wives Club. That was to try and become us, integrate into the Americans. That didn't work out too well. But my husband never liked being around Anglophones. Uh, so, but then also with the French. And then I'm a member of the Spanish. I'm not going to be invited on the board because I'm a persona non grata, because the board is controlled by the wives of BBVA, who are the people that, my husband's colleague at Banco Ganadero. And yeah, they don't like the American who doesn't hang out and kiss their ass and hang out all the time at the country club with them. James, my bodyguard, he told me, he said, we use more gas than any other of the other um, cars of the bank, all of the executives. Um, because he said no, either the other bodyguards, they said either they're hanging out at the outside the country club at Guaymaral in the north waiting for the wives, or they're hanging out in the room downstairs from the bank and they're bored as shit. And he said, we're all over the place. You don't stop. Because if my husband didn't need the car to go, I mean, basically for him, it was usually either take him in the morning and pick him up. He might have a lunch or something, but then the rest of the day, it's me and the kids. I mean, we had, this is the thing. Oh, you have a car supplied and a bodyguard. I'm like, yeah, because there was a kidnapping plan in my case. But it's like if you work in the banking system or petroleum, you don't screw around with the security. And I mean, this is why I'm like, no, people, and believe me, there was even the ambassador, the Spanish ambassador, his bodyguard was shot and killed. And like a month before that, I had been in a conversation with his wife, and she was saying, oh, all of this security stuff, this is just for show. This is just pomp and circumstance. And I was like, not always. Um, yeah. So that was God. That was very sad. The memorial service for him. Um, but I mean, when I went over to say my condolences to her, she just looked at me I'm like, you were right. I was like, yeah, I wish I hadn't have been. I mean, this is what I'm saying. And all the crap going on in Venezuela. I mean, don't even get me started with all the Colombians. I mean, all of the Colombian Bogota high society and ruling elite should be ashamed of themselves. First, with all the stuff that I've been doing with the IMF and the financial inclusion of BBVA and Santander and all of this stuff that goes back to the 90s and the banking systems and what's been going on there. Because I keep on explaining to all of these business guys, I'm a business person, so I'm important. Well, guess what? Ask Don Jr. I loved it. They used to shut down his bank accounts. He's like, I have payroll. I've got bills that I mean, you can't do that to a business. I'm like, yeah, guess what you guys are planning? I mean, all of that, the Bush family, Jonathan Bush as well, he got burned. I'm like, you assholes, you're getting burned by this system as well. Yeah, you keep on drinking and passing out Kool-Aid. Idiots. Okay, so that's it. On off enough.